Hey, welcome back to The Dive. Today on the show, we have the chairman of West Red Lake, Tom Meredith. Tom's going to talk a bit of macro with us before he really gets into the most recent updates and acquisitions from West Red Lake. Hey, Tom, welcome back to The Dive. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Great, Cassandra. Great to be with you.
Okay, so Tom, let's start off with some macro. A bipartisan deal to raise the $31 trillion US debt ceiling is in the headlines. How does the US government's borrowing and spending policies impact the gold market?
Yeah, the really bigger issue is the interest rate market. And so when the Fed stops raising rates and starts to drop them, that's going to have a significant impact. And I think that's what people should be watching for. So later this year, there should be stronger signals for that. And then that'll be the biggest impetus to capital flows into the gold market.
What do you view as the key price levels for gold?
Ultimately, gold has a pretty good price level right now. However, compared to other asset classes, and many asset classes these days are financial asset classes, gold does have plenty of room to move higher in price. So if gold gets through 2100, now I'm talking on a technical basis rather than a relative basis. But on a technical basis, if gold gets through 2100 and stays above 2100 for a few days, that'll be a technical buy signal. And so all kinds of capital from all kinds of places will move into gold. And that'll be very helpful for the market.
And what about producers? How do you think the producers will respond to the recent price action?
I think producers these days are just trying to be disciplined. They have been for some time. And as prices go higher in the future, which many of us are anticipating prices will go higher for gold, they'll eventually have to start to buy other gold deposits, gold assets to build up their gold production profiles and replace ounces that they're mining today.
Okay, so Tom, for our guests new to the story, could you give us the high-level overview of West Red Lake?
West Red Lake is a Red Lake-focused junior mining company. We have the Rowan property in Red Lake, which is got a gold deposit on it. And we have the Madsen property, which we're acquiring, which has a mine and mill on it. So those two combined will make the company a junior explorer and future junior mining company with all those assets in place. And we have good financial backing from Frank Schuster.
Now, how does West Red Lake compare to other mining regions in terms of its mineral potential and investment attractiveness?
Well, the Red Lake Gold District is one of the best in Canada and in the world. It has created world-class companies. For example, Gold Corp was created in Red Lake. And it's got high-grade gold zones, which we have on our properties, and potential for significant future gold resources. And Kinross recently bought a project in the area. They paid, I think it was about well over $1 billion for it. What was Great Bear, which was a junior. So, and a few years ago, Gold Corp paid over $1 billion for a junior called Gold Eagle. So, junior companies can get purchased down the road by bigger companies for significant amounts of money. In the billion dollar categories twice so far. So that's the kind of thing that one can see happen in Red Lake.
We saw in a news release that you reported your initial drill results from your phase 1 exploration program at your Rowan property in Ontario that you spoke of. Can you walk us through these results?
Sure. The results are at Rowan, the Rowan deposit that we have a resource in, and we're doing some more drilling into that deposit. And we got, very nice grades over very nice widths. So that's supporting the project for future better resource definition and supporting it in terms of, the kinds of grade that deposit can ultimately become prior to being designed into a mineral deposit for future mining.
How has the mining space in Red Lake evolved over the years?
Well, it started off in the 1930s, like many of the mines in Canada and the US for that matter, started with, prospectors going and finding gold veins on surface and just mining them by hand, essentially, and starting small mining operations. And then many of them shut down by World War II because gold was not an essential industry. Then and gold was also after World War II, it was capped at $35 an ounce by the US government, and they didn't relax the 1971. And so it's only being really in the 80s and 90s that the gold industry got some health again. So Red Lake really emerged, after that period of time in a big way from its earlier episode in the sort of the 30s when it was first discovered. So there's a new chapter. We've had a second chapter, but there's an extension of the second chapter that's about to happen with more modern mining techniques that are coming to play in the industry. And there's plenty of resource there. And Kinross moving in and buying the Great Bear deposit is the perfect example of that.
What can you tell us about your 2023 exploration campaign?
We're going to continue exploring at the Rowan deposit. We are planning to do approximately 17,000 meters of drilling this year. And I think we did a little over 3,000 when we announced the first results. So we have lots more drilling to do. We'll be drilling all year. And then later on, we'll start some drilling at the other property that we're acquiring in the process of acquiring now, and that at the Madsen. There's underground drilling that we'll be doing. Plus, we're also looking at other deposits on the property, which would be surface exploration drilling.
Now, speaking of the Madsen Gold Project, what led the company to pursuing this acquisition?
It was a well-developed project that had run into some difficulties, and so was available at a good price for us. So fortunately, we had good financial backing and financial leadership, which allowed us to acquire it at a favorable price. And it's very strategically valuable because not only is it a mine that's permanent, it has a mill, and it really moves the company from a junior explorer to a junior miner with a significant amount of capital that's already been invested. So it really takes the company up the scale in terms of mining companies.
So Tom, we have one more question for you here. What are the key milestones that investors should be watching out for with West Red Lake over the near term?
Our exploration plans in terms of developing the Rowan deposit, our pre-production plans in terms of doing underground development and drilling for the Madsen project, all leading towards an eventual restart of that property in the future.
Okay. Well, that's all we have for you today, Tom. Thank you so much for coming on and giving us the company update.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. We will be back again, so be sure to give us a follow by hitting that subscribe button below me there so you don't miss out on our next video. Bye.